Yo, what's going on, MATHMECH players? Welcome back to another MATHMECH and Code Talker video. Now, firstly, I'm so sorry that I've been gone so long. Gone so long. It's just because I've been on a work contract, and look, as much as I love to make these videos for you guys, look, my personal life has to come first. I do have to obviously pay my bills, and I had a lot of deadlines come up, so I did have to do that. But look, that contract is over now, just because of the holidays coming up, and that won't continue until March. So I have a lot of free time to put into the content for you guys. So I hope you guys have stuck around, and I hope that I can see you in the comments for future. So now that that's out of the way, look, guys, I made Master 1 again, and I'm so pleased. This season was definitely the hardest one since the Bestials were released because, well, with the branded support coming out, Bestials are everywhere. It is annoying. Like, oh, it is jarring. It's so jarring. Like, I think it's a balanced hand trap in some regard. It's just annoying that it is a direct counter to MATHMECH, literally. And with diameter at 1, it kind of sucks that our Omni Negate goes. Now, I know I said in a previous video it doesn't matter, but it can matter. I was only saying that because Bestials were not as hot and popular then. Now that they're literally everywhere, oh my god, please give me diameter more than 1. Like, just please. Like, yeah, just annoying. Very jarring. But look, I wanted to go through the deck that I used to get to Master 1. I want to go through a few replays with you guys, and then I want to go through a few talking points about either the replays as well as the future of MATHMECH, because there was a big TCG announcement, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it may affect how this channel goes forward, because yeah, without MATHMECH, well, I'll touch on that in a minute. We'll touch on that bit. But if you came here from Master Duel Meta, because I have posted this deck list from Master Duel Meta as well, then please feel free to skip all of the discussions. I'm gonna put the replays, timestamp them, and you won't have any of my voiceover over any of that. So by all means, just watch it with just see the gameplay, isn't it? So it is what it is. But guys, why don't we jump straight into the deck list, and I'll show you how I got to Master 1 this season. Right, so guys, here it is. This is the deck list that got me Master 1 this season. Now, before we actually go into the cards themselves, I just want to highlight, please do not copy this deck list. The term for it is actually net decking. One of you shared that for me in the comments, and I appreciate that because I can pass on the message. Yeah, just don't net deck, guys. Look, as a personal anecdote, this season alone, I didn't even follow my own advice. From Diamond 1 to Master 5, I was really struggling to climb into Master because I don't know why. Well, no, I do know why. Bistles are everywhere. So I was really running out of ideas. And so I kept going down to Diamond 2, back to Diamond 1, and back and forth. So because I ran out of ideas, I went against my own advice and copied multiple different content creators' deck lists. And I'm so pleased for them that it works, but it did not work for me at all. And that's nothing against their deck list. It's just how Master Duel is. Like, we play very different people, and like, that's just how the game goes. Like, sometimes you get lucky wins, sometimes you win the coin toss a lot, and like, it just is what it is. Like, that's just how you progress in this game. So yeah, don't net deck, guys. It's just not worth it, and I would really hate to see that you guys have a bad experience in Master Duel because you just copy my deck and play. So yeah, let's get that out of the way. Now let's jump straight into the deck list itself. So I actually went for a pure MATHMECH line with a little bit of Code Talker support this season. Now the reason okay, how do I start this? Right, so we'll start with the main bodies. I doubled up on all of the special summons. You never want to double up on the normal summons. They are very bricky if you do. And of course, Diameter is at 1 anyway, so we are forced to stay with 1 anyway. Now with the Code Talker stuff, I could have played a third microcoder, but Code Generator is just so good for multiple different play lines. It's just nice to have the extender of Dotscaper, and sometimes you just need it to send a card from your deck to the graveyard, like, I don't know, Diameter, in case you aren't able to secure the third body for your Laplation on the following turn. So it is really good for that. Now with the hand traps, you may see a odd number for a few of them. So I play 2 draw. I always have. I find having 3, I'm way too often opening it with it, and it's good for going second, but going first, it's not very nice. I'd rather have a little bit more gas to go forward with it. But this card did very well for me this season. Now Maxi, I'll keep it as brief as possible, but I'm sure you're watching this thinking, LMAO, you are a fucking idiot, because why are you playing one of the best card in this game? And in simple terms, I just hate this card. I think it's so poorly designed, and I'll be honest, it really lost me a lot of games because I just kept drawing it when I didn't need it. And to me, that's shit. Like, why? I would draw 2, and then on the following turn, I would draw the 3rd, and that was quite rare. But even just having 2, I'd rather just have more impactful, or like, more gas to actually go into my plays. Like, and if this card gets negated and you have multiple copies in hand, yeah, that's it. Like, you've played the Maxi minigame, and that's it. Like, the card is dead. You've got nothing else. And yeah, I'd rather use the other 2 slots, the other 2 Maxi slots, for more impactful and more extending cards. So yeah, I'm playing 1 just for the sake of having a negate through crossout, and if I draw both of them, I incur that risk. I'm more than happy for it to be that way because I'm not playing 3 of this again. It just sucks. And then of course, Infinite Impermanence. Same reasoning as Maxi. Now I don't think this is a bad card in the slightest. I just think in the current format, a lot of the decks like Branded, Vanquish, as well as, you know, Dragon Link, they're able to play through, you know, a single impermanence and even multiple. So I do find it's not that great. I think Infinite Impermanence has the best effect against MATHMECH itself. So, and the only reason I'm playing this card at all is because it's so popular. It is just a staple. I'm pretty sure it's in one of the starting bundles when you start to play the game. You can purchase it, right? With I think it's 10 Master Packs, something like that. But yeah, if this card wasn't popular, I just wouldn't play it at all. I just play it so that way Crossout has a negate, and it came up a few times, but yeah, just something that, yeah, it's just something I consider really. I wouldn't really play it. Off the top of my head, I'm just trying to think if there was a scenario where this card actually won me the game, and it didn't. It does serve a nice interruption if you're going first, because it's an extra one, but going second, like I said, your opponent really has to break for this card to like take full effect. So for me, not that great. And it is great with pairing, like with Nibiru. You know, if they have Baron de Fleur and then you activate Nibiru, you can negate Baron de Fleur when it tries to negate Nibiru, and then, you know, it will definitely clear the board. But wasn't even seeing much of Baron de Fleur this season. Everything was Branded, Dissipator, and Lulu Lilith? Something like that. It's got a really random name, but yeah, that's pretty much that. And then, of course, you got the staples, which is Ash Blossom, and then, of course, Nibiru. Nibiru is great, but I just kept activating this card at the wrong time this season, and yeah, maybe you'll see that from the replays, and you guys can point out to me, because I need to learn how Dragon Link works. As a very short anecdote, my opponent made their 10th summon, like 10 summons, I Nibiru, and they still make their strong end board. I was like, what the fuck is this? I cannot believe they played through this. So yeah, I was a bit shocked. Okay, now that we've gone through the main bodies and the supporting bodies and the hand traps, let's go into the spell and traps. Silent Mining, that's pretty much essential. You need the... I've always played 2. I still think the 3rd one being banned is not a big deal in the Slayer, so I'm okay with that. Now, instead of playing Small World, I actually played Silent Backdoor this season. Now, this card is amazing. I'm not gonna... This card won me so many games because my opponent would just scoop when this card took full effect. And essentially, where the scenario came up is that I would make Alimbertion, whether that was to draw Diameter or Circular, because it depends if you already had Circular in your hand to start with. And then when they try to Imperm or Effect Veiler, because it is just such a magnet for those cards, I would dodge the negation with Silent Backdoor, and not only would I get, you know, either Circular or Diameter, I would get my Microcoder and extend into my strongest end board. And I'm not even going to lie to you, they just scoop at that point, because yeah. And that's where Small World doesn't have that effect, because this is a quick play spell. I dodge the negation, I get the cards I want, and yeah. I like that my opponent scoops, but that won't always be the play. Sometimes they can, you know, ash it themselves or just, you know, continue to play from there. But in a lot of my scenarios, yeah, they just scooped, and I was very, very pleased. So Small World can't exactly do that. But Small World is still great. I'm not going to trash that card. It is a very good card, and I know a lot of MATHMECH players play it. So yeah, pretty much that. Call by the Grave, don't really need to explain this. This is your out to a lot of hand traps. Same with Crossout Designator. I was playing Effect Veiler here and there, so it was good for that. And yeah, it did sting me when I got hit by Effect Veiler and I was no longer playing it. But yeah, you take those risks, and I'm happy with how the deck list is at the minute. Yeah, Spellbound. Okay, so I'll be real with you guys. I only used this card from Master 2 to Master 1. I was just testing it out, but this card is what crossed the finish line for me. So it is made it into my final deck list, but I don't think it's like 100% necessary. It's just a really nice version of Dimensional Barrier. So if I just get Dimensional Barrier here, the idea with Dimensional Barrier is that you can declare, you know, I didn't even know you can declare Ritual. That is crazy. You can declare Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Pendulum, and it is really good. Don't get me wrong, this outs a lot of monsters like, you know, Pep. But for me, because this is a quick play spell, it's good first and going second. And I just really appreciate that, because, yeah, sometimes if your opponent has Masquerainer, you can shotgun this in the standby or draw phase. They cannot activate Masquerainer in response, and that way they cannot, you know, I don't know, Nightmare Unicorn you, or what's another one? Underworld Goddess, you know, get rid of your monster just by tributing it. So it is a really good card in that regard. But the reason I like it the most is because it covers a little bit more ground than Dimensional Barrier. So cards cannot be tributed, used for Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link Summon. That is crazy. Now I know it doesn't mention Pendulum, but who cares about Pendulums? I'm sorry, but like, yeah, that's a pretty dead archetype at the minute. Until they get more support, they're not really much of a threat. They're just a floodgate where one hand trap can disrupt the entire thing easily. So yeah, not too fussed about that. But yeah, this card, not a must, but it definitely worked well for me. In particular, I remember having a mirror match against a MATHMECH player. He special summoned Circular. I let him bring out Circular. I ashed the Circular, so he didn't get, either Equation or Super Factorial for the following turn. And then I just used this, and he scooped, because it's really hard to operate with two bodies on the field that cannot be used for anything. So yeah, really, really tough. So this card going first is pretty funny, and then going second, it can be useful. It just depends on the game scenario. So yeah, pretty fun of this card. Now, Deck Lockdown, I do like this card, but I was not playing it at the beginning of the season. I wanted to try out a more fresh perspective of, just pure MATHMECH, but I gave it a chance without it. The only time I put it back in and then left it in my deck list was when I got to Master 3. For some reason at Master 3, and this is pure luck, guys, so I'm not going to I'm bragging, I'm not going to lie, but this is the first time in my life I've been this lucky. I won 10 coin tosses in a row. 10 coin tosses. That is insane. I was very happy. I lost some of those games, but every time I opened with this card, I just won. They couldn't do anything. I'd set up my end board and they'd still play it, but as soon as this card hit the field, they scooped. So I was very pleased with that, and I didn't record that game footage because what's the point? You're not really going to see their interaction. I get to watch them struggle for a minute reading the card, being like, right, well, I can't do anything. But for you guys, it would just look like I put the card on the field and then they leave. So I just left those replays as is. And then, is there any other real cards to explain? I already kind of went through Silent Conflict, but yeah, that's pretty much the main deck, guys. I don't really need to go through them any further. Let's go into the extra deck, which would be even shorter. So yeah, with the average MATHMECH deck, extra deck, this is pretty much the same. The only differences are 3 cards. So Protect Code, Link Spider, and Code Talker. Now, Code Talker, if you play the actual, Code Talker support, this card itself is pretty essential. It's just nice to have a card that, if you're not able to go into your higher link monsters, at least through this card you can secure Silent Conflict, and yeah, works well from there. But this card is very well paired with Link Spider. So I was getting Nibiru'd a lot this season, and essentially I would already have my Super Factorial set up with the 3 bodies, but they didn't want me to have Terahertz on the end board. So as soon as I had Transcode, Splash Mage, and Link Decoder, they would shotgun Nibiru, get rid of all my monsters, and I'm left with a token. I would turn that token into Link Spider, have Microcoder in hand, use Microcoder and Link Spider to go into Code Talker, as I referenced earlier. And then not only do I have the Super Factorial line, but I also have the Silent Conflict line. And the only way they're going to get rid of, the usability of Silent Conflict is if they out Code Talker. So they either have to special summon Fenrir, battle into it. But at that point, they've lost the first main phase, they've lost the battle phase, and now they have to, try and formulate a play in the second main phase. So it's a lot more difficult from that point to win a duel if you're not a control deck. So yeah, very, very pleased with that. And then of course, Protect Code. Now, there were certain games where I kind of wish I had Heat Soul, but in, I'd say 8 out of 10 games, I'm very pleased that I had this card over Heat Soul. And the reason is because with Heat Soul, you cannot confirm. So, okay, in most scenarios, if you're playing the Code Talker support, you have to choose between Silent Conflict or Terahertz. And of course, you have to pick Terahertz because that card on its own is just not only a Towers monster because it's just such a big, big body, but it's a double interruption. And Silent Conflict's amazing, but it's really easy to out some of the, Code Talker monsters. They're not that high of an attack, and you don't want access code on your first turn. Only in emergencies do you really have to do that. But with Protect Code, you can secure both plays in an emergency. So, as an example, there are times where I would have Transcode Talker on the board with Splash Mage and Link Decoder and have Microcoder in hand. I would use Microcoder and Splash Mage to go into Protect Code, and then use Transcode, Protect Code, and Link Decoder, knowing that I've now secured Silent Conflict to go into Terahertz, so the 3 bodies go into Terahertz, and then off of Protect Code's effect, it will just special summon itself by banishing either Transcode Talker or Lingaribo and Splash Mage. Those are the plays I had this season. And then I now have Terahertz with Super Factorial on the 3 bodies for Laplation, including Diameter, and Silent Conflict. The only drawback, and I consider this something worth the risk, is that if they out Protect Code, it can no longer use its effect again to resummon itself because it will be banished when it leaves the field this time. So that is the only drawback, but to me that is so worth it, the fact that you're able to have Silent Conflict. So very, very pleased. The only time where this card was a little bit unfortunate was it is a dark attribute, and of course Bestial's been everywhere. I'm going to highlight a lot, that is a running theme in this, but yeah, it would get banished here and there, so it was kind of unfortunate. But all in all, very, very good card. So I was very pleased with this. But yeah, that's pretty much all the cards here, guys. That's pretty much the deck list. Why don't we jump into some of the replays together and you can see some of my gameplay this season. Okay, so guys, now that you've seen some of the replays, I hope that you enjoyed them. I tried to keep them as diverse as possible, despite playing literally just Dragon Link, Vanquish Soul, and then, of course, Branded Despia since the support came out. Now, I just wanted to go through some of the gameplay. I wanted to point out 2 mistakes that I made, 2 big ones, because I think it's good that you learn from my mistakes and don't make them yourselves. And then a few good things that I did that I feel like are good practice that you should just keep in mind. So why don't we go through the mistakes first? I think that's only fair. So this might be a bit loud. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. If you're on headphones, that was peak. So sorry about that. If I know how to edit the warning, I'll do that. But yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, the mistake I made here was that with Terahertz, I essentially made Terahertz co-linked with transcode to protect him from targeting effects, right? Because I could have just summoned Terahertz by itself and then send multiplication and then, you know, shoot the game. But I was a bit worried he'd have Effect Veiler, was not sure how Zoodiacs play. And the plan was just to attack not only Diameter, but Utopic Draco Future as well. But to do that, so you'll notice here, I send D-Saver. Now, for those who don't know the effects of Terahertz, it is a long text, so I'll just shorten it for you. It gains the attribute of any monster that it sends to the graveyard by its effect, and then it can attack on monsters up to the number of attributes it has acquired. So it being a dark monster, all I had to do, literally I had one job, was to send anything but a dark monster, and he could have attacked not just Diameter, but Utopic Draco Future as well, and that would have been game. And that was the plan, but I was just, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just such an idiot. And yeah, look, that would have been the last 3,000. Look, 6,000, 3,000, 3,000. That would have been it. So I just wanted to point that out because I don't want you guys to do the same. Like, despite having, you know, Super Factorial with Diameter set up and a, you know, Disable in the graveyard, I didn't want to have to rely on those cards. Like, you should never just, yeah, don't try and bully your opponent. You know, go for the win. Like, go for where it is. So that's pretty much that game. We don't need to see it out. So that was mistake number 1, and now mistake number 2. Ooh, this is a quiet one. Okay, thank goodness. So let's turn us up a little bit. Now, the mistake I made here is that I pointed out the usability and, you know, the best use of Signet Backdoor, and I didn't even use it myself in this particular duel. So I wanted to show you why that's a mistake. So if we just go to the gameplay here. Now, I made the right play here. So if we just come back here, I made the right play of going into Protect Code using Splash Mage and Microcoder. But instead of adding Signet Conflict, because as great as Signet Conflict is, by itself with just these two on board, I can't even use Transcode's effect in the next turn. I'd have to go into, you know, G-Golem and then bring back Transcode and then use it to fit. So it's not the end of the world. Still a good play. But what I should have done is added Signet Backdoor from the effect of Microcoder instead of Signet Conflict. Banished Transcode just for this turn. It will come back the next standby phase, as you know from the card effect. And then gotten Circular, because once you add Circular to hand, you can just continue the one card combo as if you opened with it in the first place. So that should always be the plan. So send Sigma, bring it back. You have Alan Burschen, then use Alan Burschen to get Diameter, and then you can go into, you can't really go into Terahertz because that's, you know, you have to use Alan Burschen to tribute itself to get Diameter onto the board. But if you don't want to get Diameter, you can always get, you know, Addition as well as Subtraction, you know, one or the other. Special summon it and then use the 2, well the 3, because Protect Code being Link 3, that's why it's so good. Go into Terahertz, and now you have Super Factorial without Diameter, though, just bear that in mind, with Terahertz on the board. So you still have a very good end board, and then of course we have Ash Blossom here as well. So we are in a very good spot here. But this, I got very lucky I won this game. I'm not going to lie. That's why I wanted to record it and just show it to you guys. Make sure that you don't make the same mistakes as I did. Because that Ash got negated. And the other one in my hand would have been, you know, shit on the next turn as well because it's also negated. So yeah, unfortunate. But either way, I won the game. So it was, you know, fortunate for me. But now let's move on to the good things I did. Because I did actually play somewhat well this season, guys. I'm not going to lie. I tried my best, especially with a Bestial format everywhere. Now, Droll did do very well for me in this particular game. Like I highlighted, Droll is not a great counter against Branded, but because he had to add Alaba to hand, he cannot add Branded Fusion from Alaba. So it did stop the play in this very particular game. What I really wanted to point out is how you should use all of your extenders going into a game like this, because Branded are just relentless. They have so many. Like, they have so many plays. It's kind of like Lab in the sense that they can tailor the play to the type of deck that they are facing. But realistically, given the right cards, they can just always make Mirror Jade. And it's just so irritating to play against. So it is very annoying. He makes I can't pronounce that word. The Dusk Dragon, whatever that is. So he makes that. Let's skip forward a little bit. Now, where the real threat is where he uses the effects of this particular fusion monster and brings out this one. So this Despion monster, if you look at the effects, very quickly, very cool animation. During the main phase, so as a quick effect, you can change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0, so non-targeting, and they have to be level 8 or higher fusion monsters in order to not be affected by this effect. So obviously being link monsters, being everything that we control, that was a huge deal. But given how many extenders I had, the best plan of action that I had was to go into Access Code first, because he has no choice but to activate that effect. And because he has an attack position monster on the field, now that he's used the effect of this, I can use all the materials on the field to go into Terahertz and then, you know, OTK for game. So it was very simple from there. I was very pleased. And one thing you have to bear in mind with Branded, since the new support in particular, they don't have a lot of space for hand traps. That deck is pure gas. Like, look how many times he has summoned on my turn. Like, that is crazy. Like, that is the power of Branded. They just have so much gas and power. And like I said, look, he had to use the effect. Now that that's out the way, I can go into Terahertz. And yeah, he tries to Ash me. What a fool. It is what it is. I love it when they try to Ash me in the battle phase. It's just funny to watch because either they've given up and they know, or they don't know and now they're pissed because, yeah, and that was straight 11,000 damage. So thank you to him. I would have won the game anyway, but I was very pleased with that particular game. Now let's go into MATHMECH versus, I believe this is Kashtira-Orcust. I really don't know what the actual deck was, but given the card sleeves, the little image here, yeah, I wasn't too sure. But either way, yeah, I had the Ash, had the out here. Now, you'll notice I have Firewall Defensor as well as Forbidden Droplet. They didn't make it into my final cut this season, guys, and that's just because in the higher ranks, Bestials were everywhere, so Defensor becomes shit. Like, I'll talk about that more in the conclusion, but yeah, it was not good this season. It was only good in the lower level duels like this one, so this was Diamond 4, Diamond 3, I believe. And then Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet, it was still good. Sometimes I wish I had it in some of the higher rank games, but it's too inconsistent. Like, you can't always draw it, and it's not good against some like certain decks. And to be honest, as a MATHMECH player, you don't want to lose card economy, so it does, yeah, it does really suck. But anyway, let's point to the point that I really want to show. So with Forbidden Droplet on the field, when your opponent summons Fenrir, standard practice is to send Aggregator, but he negates it with Ash, which is a very smart play. But now all I have to do is use Forbidden Droplet, and I use Protect Co's material because it can just summon itself back. Like, that is a free, non-targeting negative effect, and it halves the attack of Kashtira Fenrir. So it now loses the purpose of attacking over Protect Code. So when he summons this, I think it's a level 2 monster. Yep, negated. Yep, this one. So now that he's summoned this, when I bring out Super Factorial, I don't have to go for Fenrir. Fenrir is 1200 attack. It's not attacking over anything. And now that it's stuck in attack position, the next round, yeah, Terahertz is shooting for game, my boy. That's it. He's winning. So yeah, I was very, very pleased with that. And then yeah, look, the game was simple from there. So yeah, that was the second good thing I did. Now I just want to go on to the final and last thing. And let's turn down the game, but I'm pretty sure this is a loud one. So it was, okay. There we go. I tried to save you guys. So let's put this into full screen. There we go. Now, with this particular game, I'm not going to lie to you, Nibiru definitely 100% gave me the win here. So I do put a lot of props to Nibiru for this. Now, let's go into it. So now that it's, you know, distributed his whole field, I made a lot of mistakes besides... Well, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes in this particular duel, but nothing that you can really learn from. It's really hard to know... Well, one, I didn't know this was not a once per turn card, but I used Nibiru at the right time, so... You know, the mistakes were kind of counteracted by that good decision that I made. But either way, now that he's done this, whatever, he adds, I think it's Juris Worm to hand. Let's have a look. Yeah, Juris Worm. So I know that I had to bait that out. And I have a set Super Factorial, so I'm in a very good spot here. And yep, let's kind of chase this up a little bit. So this is where I did everything correctly. Now, because I have these particular cards on board and I'm able to use Splash Mage, I can go into G-Golem and then use G-Golem to bring back Transcode, and I now have the natural bodies to go into Terahertz. And where this is so amazing, because I know you've already watched the replay, but just to point out why this is so good, like I pointed out earlier, Terahertz gains the attribute of the monster it sends to the graveyard, so I send Dotscaper. So now it's not only a dark attribute monster, it is also an earth attribute monster. And that now adds into the effect of G-Golem, which is any co-linked monster that is an earth link monster, so sorry, I'm getting my words jumbled there, which is now Terahertz, will gain not only 600 attack points, but when it attacks a defense position monster, it will deal piercing damage, which is huge. Like, look at this. I didn't have to attack into the token. I could have been salty and went for, you know, Magnaher and then Juris Worm, but look, just play for the win, guys. Don't get cocky. You never know, your next game you just get max seed and yeah, that's it. So yeah, just be humble and go forward with it. But that's pretty much all the points I wanted to get through, guys. I don't really want to go through too much of the replays. I feel like if you wanted to see it, you'd point it out to me. And if you have any questions, then yeah, just let me know. But why don't we go into the conclusion, guys, where I can talk about the final points of the season and post a little bit of advice to you guys, sort of whoever's trying to make Master 1. So yeah. Now to wrap up this video, I just wanted to go through a few talking points about the season. So firstly, you may have noticed that I had Firewall Defensor and Guardian in some of the replays, but I don't have them in my final list. And that is simply because as soon as I hit Diamond 1 and Master 5, those options of support for MATHMECH were just not an option anymore. I just don't think they were very good. It's only because they're dark attribute monsters, and because Pistols are everywhere, it just stops that one card combo from Defensor. So unless I opened with Addition, Subtraction, or even Sigma in some cases as well, I was in a really bad spot. I was not going to be able to go into Alimbertion, continue the one card combo, and then, you know, extend from there. So that's pretty much why I don't think Firewall is very good this season. But as soon as things die down for Bestials, which will happen at some point, but for the current format and maybe even next month, it's going to be like that. Which leads me into my next point, which is because of the current format being so Bestial heavy, I am considering playing Salomon Grey if it continues to be that way. Just because, look, Salamangreat are all fire monsters. That's number one. So not really going to be affected by Bystials. And then two, I just think it's a very interesting deck. It still sits within the Cyburst realm of archetype. So I do really like it. They have a lot of, they have an Omni Negate themselves, which is something I'm a big fan of, obviously, through Silent Conflict. I do think Silent Conflict is better. But with Salamangreat, they can play through Maxi. And what I mean by that is, if you get Maxi'd, you can draw your opponent. So this is a different means of dealing with Maxi. And I know that stops you from grabbing cards from your deck to your hand, but we can send stuff to the graveyard and then grab those cards from the graveyard and either set them to the field directly or add them to our hand and then set them. So either way, we can still make a very strong end board and your opponent doesn't have to win through the means of Maxi because, yeah, fuck that card, like for real. But yeah, that's pretty much my point for Salamangreat. You'll see a little bit of gameplay from me going forward, but I'm not going to drop MATHMECH in total. I love this deck so much, but I will say if Bystials are very popular, there isn't much more point in me like suffering just for the sake of it. Like as soon as I hit Master 1, I had my eyes on Salamangreat. I was like, okay, I actually just want to try something else different and then post a little bit of content for that as well. So you will see some of that from me. But yeah, that's my second point. My third and my final point for anyone trying to get Master 1 this season, there are a few cards that I think you should implement. One is obviously going to be Ghost Spell. It does help to have something stopping the Bystials. The only drawback is if they have more Bystials in hand, well, yeah, if they have more than one Bystial in hand and you have more copies of Ghost Spell, you can only use one Ghost Spell anyway, so you're really reliant on your opponent having one Bystial for this to take full effect, and that really sucks. I won't lie to you. Not really nice to, yeah, have multiple copies of this in hand. They naturally have more Bystials, and then they still banish the card that you were trying to protect, so not a huge fan of that if I'm being directly honest. So either way, that it is what it is. But another card I wanted to put forward is Artifact Lancia. Now this isn't a very highly regarded card, but in my opinion, and okay, forget my opinion, I actually tried this card out from Master 5 to Master 3 and it won me quite a few games because the idea is that you shotgun it in the standby or draw phase just to see if they have any Bystials, because they have to use their Bystials at that point in response. Because if they don't, for the rest of this turn, they cannot banish anything. And against Dragon Link in particular, this is so good because they do rely on having cards like Wyvern in their hand. And whether that's the dark or the light one, they cannot be normal summoned. They have to be special summoned by banishing something. And this is not a quick effect. So most times my opponent had to pass and then I had the opportunity to shoot for game from there. So I was very pleased. So either way, very, very happy with that. But yeah, that's Artifact Lancia. Sorry, I kind of lost my thought there. So Ghost Spell, Artifact Lancia. And then the last card that I would consider like maybe like just giving a shot at is Rivalry of the Warlords. With Branded being the tier 1 popular deck at the minute, I would say this card works really well against them. They have such a mixed brand of different types of monsters. They have Fairy, Spellcaster, Worm, Dragon. Like they have such a mix where this card would definitely limit the plays to some regard. And then again, the same with, what's the name? Vanquish Soul. I almost lost it there. So with Vanquish Soul, they have a different like variety of attributes as well as types. So you don't have to play, Rivalry of the Warlords. Gozen Match would be good against Vanquish Soul as well. However, with Gozen Match, that does affect us very badly. But with this card, playing one type, we only play Cyburst anyway. That's the whole point of us having this mix, deal of cards. So I was quite pleased with what I think this card can do. So I'll play test it for you guys if you really don't believe it, but I do think this is a good card going forward. So that's pretty much my recommendations for this season, guys. I think if you are dealing with, how bad the Bystial format is at the minute, I do feel sorry for you because I went through it myself and it does really suck. But look, if you have any questions about any of the gameplay or anything that I said in this video, please just shoot them in the comments. I would love to hear what you think. But yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for sticking around. I'll see you guys later.